A life worth living there, and of course, we continue reflecting on Dr. Kenneth Kaunda's life. Just now, we are joined in the studio by Mr. Allan Nyirenda, who is the past president of the Kitwe and the District Chamber of Commerce. He now joins us in the studio to weigh in on the industrial impact that KK's policies had on the mining town of Kitwe. Mr. Nyirenda, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
First of all, I want to hear from you. What comes in mind, or what comes to mind when you hear, the name Dr. Kenneth Kaunda?
Thank you very much. I think for me, maybe I'm fortunate because I grew up in Kitwe. So I think I've got a quite recollection of Dr. Kaunda. I went to school in Kitwe, primary and secondary school. Mm-hmm. And one thing that comes to mind is that when we were at school, when we hear about the name of Kaunda, Kaunda was synonymous with the name president. So every one of us would say, who is Kaunda of Malawi? Dr. Hastings Kamuzubanda. Mm-hmm. Who is Kaunda of Tanzania? It would be Nyerere. That's how his name, that's how his legacy is. Because when we were at school, I think we heard more about Kaunda than any other. Mm-hmm. When we were learning about social studies, and also at primary school we were learning about something civics and so forth. Is it civics or social studies? The name that came out is we learned about the struggle of independence, the liberation movement, and the name that came very, very, very well is Dr. Kenneth Kaunda.
Did you at any time when you were still in school have any chance, to meet Dr. Kaunda?
Unfortunately not. The only nearest we had to meet Kaunda, because at that time, when Kaunda was visiting Kitwe, we were all taught to go and line up and to go and welcome him and greet him. So that is the nearest that actually we got to Dr. Kenneth Kaunda at that particular. It was very exciting when we were students.
Great. Share with us some of the industries that were in Kitwe at the time that Dr. Kaunda was still in the office.
If I remember the recollection of my mind at that time, we had some good companies that were in Kitwe which were employing quite a lot of people. Just to name a few, there was Dale Kings. It was a construction company. Mindstone. These two were the biggest construction companies in Kitwe. They built bridges. If you look at Kafue River, bridge, they were built by Mindstones and Dale Kings. So this is how important that these companies were. Specialist foods. They used to make sweets, and we used to like the sweets that were made by specialist foods. We had Shonga Steel. They used to make steel products for the mines and also for your house and so forth. We had McKinnon and Sons, and these are the names that the young people nowadays will never even they will never even heard of them. Then we had ceramics, Associated Printers. Then one important industry that I worked what I worked when I was still in school during holidays is Sun Industries. Okay. In Sun Industries, we were actually assembling bulbs, and it was so exciting as a young boy. Actually, when school closes, we go and work for these industries. We had copper crafts. We had very good ornaments made out of copper, and this is the company that was making this. Then Zambia Pork Products. Right now, we don't have a specific industry that makes pork products. Most of it is you find all these Zambeef and so forth who are mouth skilled in these things. We know that chloride is still there, but in those particular days, they were actually manufacturing batteries, your car batteries and my car batteries. We never used to import; they were being made by Chloride Zambia. Copperbelt Steel and Monarch Steel. These two companies were basically like Monarch were making doors for your house, and my house. If you look at all the doors in this country, all the door and window products, the pioneer of the steel window products was Monarch Zambia, but it's no longer there. And other companies, just to name, we had Precision Engineering, Consolidated Tire Services. It's still there, but in the form that it was, because I worked for this company, in the form that it was, we were retrading tires. So we were, we were contributing to the national economy. Instead of importing tires, you would bring your own tires and put a new life to it. We'll give it 60%.
Yeah.
Then one important industry that still is in my mind, that really breaks my heart, is numbboard silos. You've seen, if you go to the industrial area, you've got all these big silos. That was a very important industry during the Kaunda era, because it used to, stock all the maize products. If all these millers, like jammers, Nkana milling, and all the millers that were there, they would actually buy the maize products from what? Numbboard. Instead of what is nowadays, the maize marketing is actually free for all. We had a lot. We had Mazembe Tractor Company, but now it has been taken over by foreigners. But these were really, what I'm talking about, these were actual Zambian companies which were contributing to the economy of this country. And these are the companies that were employing not only 5 people, as it is now, they were employing more than 100 people plus. And unemployment was thing of the past. Everyone, at every household, you'll find that the breadwinner had actually an employment. Fortunately for me, I was brought up in Kitwe, and I was brought up in a bush compound. Our parents would see our parents every morning going for work, from household to the household. Our neighbors, if you look on your left side, you look on the right side, all the parents from the neighborhood will actually rise up in the morning and go for work.
Yeah. You mentioned that as a student you had a job that you used to work during your holidays. Would you share with us how much you are getting at that moment when you were still a student?
That's a good one. I can remember very well. I was getting 200 kwacha.
Okay.
And that 200 kwacha was a lot of money.
Equivalent to today?
Today, to be equivalent to about maybe 5,000 or 6,000 kwacha. You pay rent. Okay, I was not paying rent because, I was staying with somebody.
Yeah.
But it was good pocket money for me as a student then. Okay, I was in college. It was a good pocket money. Instead of being home and doing nothing, at least it used to keep me to keep me busy. And that was the nature of the Kaunda legacy in those days. You find most of the students, especially those who are going to colleges and universities, that's the occupation that they would do when they're actually on holidays, as opposed to what is happening now, because there are fewer jobs.
Let's talk about the students themselves. How often were they employed when while they were still at the school? How possible was it? Was it easy to get a job while you are still in school?
My experience, when we were at school at college, a company came and interview us without even applying for a job. So that's how the legacy was. Most of the students, I can say 90% of the students will actually get a job after college.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about you talked about people getting jobs by then through these companies that you've just mentioned. How possible? What qualifications were those people needed to have for them to get the job?
If you look at the companies, let me talk about the companies in Kitwe. If you look at the companies in Kitwe, most of them were specialized. Most of them were specialized companies. Okay, so either they were in construction, whether they were in engineering, mechanical engineering, whether they were electrical engineering or metal turning companies, machinist companies. So you find that according to your career that you've chosen, you'll find that at that particular time, jobs will actually be readily available because they were looking for people who had the skill to actually contribute to the well-being of their company.
Let's come to the companies themselves. How economically viable were they at the time that they were introduced, and people would come and work for these companies?
They were very viable because why they were very viable? Because most of them, they were not importing a lot of raw materials. A lot of them, they are the raw materials found in the country. Like for example, if you look at the construction companies, Zambian construction companies at the time, you find that most of the raw materials were found here. Except maybe for metal turning industries. Metal turning, I'm talking about the machinists. Okay, those, yes, the steel they would use, they would actually import it from outside, but it was readily available because the other trading companies who were actually they had that specialty of actually importing those particular raw materials and they'll stock. So at any given time that the metal turning company wants maybe a mild steel, okay, or wants a high-speed steel, or wants, a very hard metal, I mean, they will actually go there and get it and use it. And mind you, at that particular time, all these companies, okay, the primary industry for them was actually the mines, because the mines were supporting local companies almost 100%. The only thing that they wouldn't go to a local company if the local company doesn't have, and then they'll go abroad.
We look at today's companies, and those companies by then belong to government. And if you look at government workers, they have this laissez-faire kind of attitude. How strict were the supervisors in those days that were monitoring what was going on in those companies to the workers and even to you as students? How strict were those?
You are talking about government companies. May I correct you? They were quasi,
Yeah.
if you look at it, because though we had Indeco companies at that particular time, we had the Zimco group companies, and these guys were, and the companies were managed by the quality that they produce. Most of them who didn't produce the best qualities, they folded up. I can give you an example of ceramics, who actually had a hard time because they never produced a quality product, and people wouldn't buy. And that was an Indeco company. But if you look at other industries, okay, like for example, Monarch Zambia, okay, they used to produce quality products, okay, like door frames and window frames, and they would even export some of the products that they were making. Those survived. You look at another company which was Indeco. What is this other company? It was Indeco. I worked for it as well, called Consolidated Tire Services. Okay, we used to produce quality retreads, which most of even ZCCM would actually buy our quality retreads, which will give 60% of extra life to any tire. Those companies have survived at that particular time. Okay, Numbod as well. Okay, Numbod survived because it would do maize marketing. Okay, but how stable it was, I wouldn't know very much because I never worked for it. Then Numbod only only disappeared after privatizations. And if you look at that particular time, the other private industries, we had corporate entities which we would look at. We had the entity which was run by Mr. Sadanis, like Mazembe Tractor Company. Mr. Sanderson, the late Mr. Sanderson, all these are late. They used to write, they used to run corporate entities with several companies in Kitwe. And Mr. Shemulenga, to name but a few. These are the guys that were, running the economy or contributing a lot to the economy because their companies were actually run as a corporate entity and with quality management and so forth. Now, coming back to Indeco. Yes, Indeco, all of us, some of us grew, started with Indeco. And Indeco was a vehicle which will actually, teach you the leadership. And me, I'm thankful because of my start with Indeco. Before going to private, I learned a lot in Indeco because they taught me a lot. They sent me to school to go and learn about leadership skills, and I came out as a better person. So when I left Indeco and went into private entity, I actually, had that knowledge, and I employed that knowledge.
Yeah.
So that is the legacy of what we were talking about, Dr. Kaunda.
Yeah.
Yes.
At a time, how do you appreciate, the opportunity that you were given, while you were a student and the other students, in remembering, Dr. Kaunda?
Can you repeat that again?
How do you appreciate, the opportunity that you are given to work as a student, the exposure that you got at that, stage of life as a student, and also, other students that were given an opportunity? How do you, appreciate in remembering Dr. Kenneth Kaunda?
It was a privilege to actually have been at that time when Dr. Kaunda was president, because it made life for a student easy. And the appreciation, the way I can say, right at that particular time, to get into college was not a difficult issue. It was not, you never went to bribe somebody in order to give you a press. All you did was you just go and, sit for interviews, and if you've got the right grades, you are actually given that opportunity to do. I think that's what we are so much grateful. I wish that kind of legacy can come back, where people can be given even jobs, where people can be given opportunity to show what they have through the means of not being a son of so-and-so, not being a daughter of so-and-so, not because I know somebody there, not because somebody knows me, but because of the ability and the skill that particular person has. That's what we appreciate, people of my age and those who grew up in the Kaunda era. You were chosen by what you have. You are chosen by your skill, and you are chosen by what you can give out, and not chosen because you belong to somebody.
Let's look at the business community in Kitwe, and in this manner, we, how do you remember KK in Kitwe, and his industrial impact that at that time happened in Kitwe?
At that time, you look at industry, there was so much encouragement, though not. The only drawback I can say is, all of us, okay, when we were growing up, and we wanted to, all we looked forward was to get a job. We never looked forward to form a company or to start doing business. I think if you look at the companies that's how they were built. They were built to employ everyone that comes out of college. They were the startup system was to employ, okay, and the startup system was not to encourage somebody to. I think if you look at that's the legacy. The legacy itself at that particular time, it was good, because it was built for the environment that was at that particular time. You know that we were coming just out of independence, okay? And coming out of independence, the main objective and the main goal was to make sure that everyone had an employment, or everyone had a job. Everyone gets a job, and everyone, had something to actually put food on the table. That was the main preoccupation and the objective. I think if you look at this particular nowadays, I think the objectives are very different now than at that time.
Yeah. Let's talk about now the business community. How best can they do just to remain productive and offer jobs to the ordinary Zambians and the like, in remembering Dr. Kaunda?
In remembering Dr. Kaunda, I think this is why the chamber movement actually has been lobbying the government, because now the environment is different. Okay, the environment, the much emphasis now is not to encourage a person or a student. Let me talk about a student who is coming out of university or college to actually get a job. Now the emphasis now on entrepreneurship, because of the environment that we are living in, and because of the also the population growth has gone to such an extent that not everyone can actually get a job at a particular time. Why is it that not everyone cannot get a job? Because most of the industries that were there, they are no more. Okay, now we've become like a trading entity. The whole country is a trading entity. So now that's what we are trying to change now, from the entity of trading. Now we want to change now that if we can now encourage manufacturing. Slowly it's coming, but we want more and more Zambians to actually, more and more all of us Zambians, to actually get involved in the manufacturing. The spiral effect is that if we encourage more entrepreneurs, we actually, the ripple effect is that we create employment. The emphasis is not on jobs, the emphasis on entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship will actually breed jobs. So that's the emphasis now. Even the chamber movement now, this is what we are encouraging. In remembrance of the legacy of Dr. Kaunda, at that time, the emphasis was jobs, jobs. Now the emphasis should be entrepreneurship. Let people get into creating companies and owning their own companies. In so doing, we're actually going to help our environment to actually create more jobs.
Do you see youths today having the same vigor that youths at that time had? Because they will be complaining about lack of jobs, lack of employment, but do you still see the vigor, and what will be your encouragement?
The encouragement right now on the young people, the young men and the young women, is they should concentrate, first and foremost, they should concentrate on school. Okay, I know there's this movement which has come in, the movement of trying to make money. I want to make money. What will education do for me? Even if I finish my university, I won't get a job. So why should I concentrate on that? But you find that education will actually help you to actually achieve what you want to achieve in life. So first and foremost, education, and get a skill of any kind. We don't care. You can be a teacher, you can be a nurse, you can be a doctor, you can be a broadcaster like yourself. That is the basic knowledge. We are in the chamber, we consider whatever skill you have is a base on which you can build to actually achieve the greater heights that your ambitions will actually go for.
Mr. Nyirenda, I would like to thank you so much for having time to talk to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that was Mr. Allan Nyirenda. He is actually the past president for the Kitwe and District Chamber of Commerce, talking to us how industries that were there by then in KK's time helped, to just help the economy of the country. And thank you so much. For now, we actually going to show you some, clip, the late Zambia Broadcasting Service, that was ZBS by then, now called Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation, ZNBC, staffer Charles Mando, and a few of his colleagues hosted Dr. Kaunda at the Mass Media Complex in Lusaka, in a very special broadcast. Take a look, and of course, by that time, Dr. Kaunda was 59 years old. Take a look.